Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Is this the Lions' year? If they fight during the season as hard as they're fighting Giants in practice, it just might be. Also, what can we expect from this nebulous Patriots team? And the best fit for Brandon Aiyuk and the best outcome for the 49ers is for there to be no trade.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
You certainly could say Dan Campbell has brought a brawler's mentality to the Detroit Lions, but the last couple of days in joint practices with the New York Giants, not the kind of brawling Dan Campbell would want to see from his football team. Did not like the fighting, the videos that made rounds on social media. Someone I would never fight with, Matt Derry from Locked On Lions, at least not fisticuffs. We get in some football spars now and then, Matt, over on the Locked On Packers and Locked On Lions channels, but that's all in good fun here. What do you make of what we've seen the last couple of days?
Well, first off, Pete, my listeners would love it if I took a swing at you. You know, you're a very hated man in Detroit. No, I'll say this. I said this on the show on Tuesday. I don't like it. I don't. And the reason is the Lions right now are above all this BS. They're now a 12-win football team from a year ago, +2 with the 14 wins if you count the 2 playoff games. Their goal is a Super Bowl. The last thing you need is a starter. St. Brown on Monday, Kirby Joseph on Tuesday, breaking their hand, punching a helmet. Yeah. Like, what are football fights really going to do? You know, I didn't like it. I know the Giants and Malik Neighbors started Tuesday's melee with his swipe on Kirby, but shove a guy and talk smack is one thing, but throwing punches, and I know Levi Onwuzurike today, Maurice Norris, a backup safety, also to kind of be removed off the field by the coaching staff. I don't think this is what Dan Campbell envisioned for the 2 days in New Jersey, and I don't think you'll see, any kind of extracurriculars on Thursday in the game.
No, we don't. But to your point, they do open preseason play on Thursday. What are your expectations? What are you going to have your eye on as the Lions with some young players that they're going to rely on, presumably going to get some run here?
Yeah, I don't expect any of the regulars to play. You're not going to see Penei Sewell or Frank Ragnow or Jared Goff, I wouldn't think. The Lions do have a backup quarterback issue right now. They need to figure out who that is. And it might be somebody that's not on the team right now. Nate Sudfeld, I would guess, would start Thursday with Hendon Hooker after that. Fans love Hendon Hooker. Exciting, Heisman Trophy candidate 2 years ago. But it's not been there from a crispness perspective with finding his receivers so far in training camp. A wide receiver 4 is a question mark. Everybody thought Donovan Peoples-Jones and Antoine Green would duke it out. They haven't had a good camp yet. So who steps up in that role on Thursday night and gets a lot of run, because you're not going to see St. Brown or Jamison Williams in this game. And then defensively, just depth on the D-line, certainly cornerback.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, are we going to see the rookie corners?
I don't think so. I would think Rakestraw, yes. I don't think Terrion Arnold is going to play. And now with Emmanuel Mosley hurt, they can't afford to lose another corner. Mosley now with a torn pec muscle. That poor guy the injuries have piled up. Horrible. So we'll see. I would expect maybe Rakestraw, but not Arnold. But love the depth and love where they're going. It's just, like you said earlier, just clean some of this stuff up. You don't want any extracurriculars in the game Thursday. There's plenty to see without having to start fight night at the Meadowlands.
Yeah. As we stand here, Matt, we are waiting on the next move from Brandon Aiyuk. But I'm interested to hear what you think is the trickle-down effect in the NFC in terms of the contender rankings if Aiyuk is not on the team. Does it materially change how you see the NFC if Brandon Aiyuk is, let's say, a Cleveland Brown or a New England Patriot or Pittsburgh Steeler by the end of the week?
No, but if Trent Williams isn't out there, then I see a big shift, because I just think he's that valuable for the 49ers, and certainly a guy that kind of, I wouldn't say eliminated Aiden Hutchinson in the NFC Championship game, but Hutch didn't have the kind of game that he had had previous weeks, because Trent Williams is so good at that left tackle spot. The Niners always seem to find a way to get some of these receivers, whether it's Johnson, Pearsall, going. It's a good question. I take Kittle off the team. That's a different story. You take take Debo off a different story. I like Aiyuk. I'm not sitting here telling you I think he's a top 5 receiver, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But a lot of distractions. You and I talk about Lions and Packers. Those are 2 teams now that Love is signed, that are pretty distraction free. Distractions in Dallas, distractions in Philly, distractions in what we just talked about, the Niners.
Yeah.
So, but puts the Lions and Packers in pretty good shape. And of course, Nick Wright's Bears as well.
Stay up to date all year on the Detroit Lions by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Lions on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Patriots are a mystery. So what do we expect from a mystery? Before we attempt to answer that, the USA men's basketball team marches toward gold. No football, no NBA, no problem with FanDuel. With baseball, the WNBA back soon. We still got a couple more days of the Olympics. There's plenty to dive into over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Not even a swimming pun. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Blake Snell is going to see how he can follow up his no-hitter as the Giants are in D.C. to face the Nationals tonight. FanDuel likes the Giants to win at least on the money line. -154. So what are you waiting for? Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Yeah, all that worry about the U.S. men's basketball team before the Olympics seems pretty silly now. The U.S. smashed Brazil in the quarterfinals, 122-87. The U.S. will now face Serbia in the semifinals on Thursday. Kevin Durant scored 11 and passed Lisa Leslie for the most points by an American Olympian. Joel Embiid scored 14 and had 7 rebounds in just 12 minutes of play during the first half. He sat for the entirety of the second half after he turned his ankle. With Tuesday's 35-point victory, Team USA has won each of its first 4 games by at least 15, marking the first time a U.S. men's team has done so since 2008. The Astros needed a dub over the rival Rangers on Tuesday.
This was a game that started out just like our last several games have started out. Starting pitching, shoving. Framber Valdez in his last 6 starts has been stellar. I think we can put to rest the good Framber, bad Framber thing, because someone's like, well, if bad Framber shows up, I'm like, bad Framber hadn't shown up in 6 games. So this is good to see. And, Eric, it's great because, the one, the only Jake Myers had a horrible game last night, and he backs it up tonight with the first 2 RBIs of the game. I love this game. I hate that it was as close as it was at the end. That last hit, Eric, I swear if they were going to tie it, I was like, Lord have mercy. Not go to extra innings.
I was watching. I was just like, not again, not again.
On the training camp field, the Washington Commanders put Jaden Daniels at QB1 on their first unofficial depth chart.
Rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, quarterback number 1 on the Washington Commanders' first unofficial depth chart of the preseason. This is David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast. And that was the big news that we all received before practice. Head coach Dan Quinn revealing to us that Jaden Daniels was indeed going to be the top quarterback on the depth chart heading into preseason game number 1 against the New York Jets, and is expected to start that game against the New York Jets, despite the fact that they're going to be doing joint practices on Thursday. Some coaches tend to lean towards not necessarily playing their key players when they have those joint practices, but Dan Quinn wants to get as much as he can out of this joint practice against the Jets, but also give his rookie quarterback some live bullet, real NFL experience where the defense can rush him, but they can also hit him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Jay not only reacts, but also rebounds when there is a hiccup coming here or there as the game tends to bring you. For more on that and everything else, Washington Commanders, check out the Locked On Commanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The New England Patriots open their 2024 preseason on Thursday with a matchup with the Carolina Panthers. But the big story right now in New England is not on the team and may not be on the team, but might be, and that's all we know right now. Mike Debate from Locked On Patriots join me now to try and separate facts from fiction here with all the Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors swirling around the reports. They're more than rumors. They are certainly more than that reported now that there is a framework in place, that the ball is in Brandon Aiyuk's court. I'm going to ask you, Mike, if you're the Patriots, why are you doing this when it seems like, at least from the outside, they are not in a position to compete right now in the AFC?
Well, I think it really has to do with the confidence that the Patriots brass and the Patriots front office, and especially the Patriots coaching staff, would have in bringing someone of Brandon Aiyuk's prowess into New England. This is arguably one of the better receivers in the league, maybe even one of the top 5. According to Mike Reese of ESPN, a mutual friend of ours, Peter, reported earlier that the Patriots are willing to go the gamut on this and say, you know what, we're going to make him a top 5 paid receiver in this league, which means they're willing to go 30 plus in annual average value in order to secure his services. That's a big commitment for a team that hasn't been very willing to shell out those kind of contracts to wide receivers. But I think New England sees a perfect fit in Alex Van Pelt's offense, someone that can win his battles in a vertical passing game, someone that can not only make Jacoby Brissett better in the short term, but here's the most important thing, make Drake May ready and much better in the long term. And Brandon Aiyuk is a guy with that type of talent and that type of potential, the youth, the size. I think he's got everything they're looking for. Yeah, the Patriots a little ways away from contending, yes, but this is a big building block toward convincing the fan base that they're back in the game, and maybe even keeping a lot of teams on their heels this year and giving them second thought about overlooking them on the schedule.
Yeah, the way I look at it, Mike, is at some point you're going to want a big time number 1 receiver. And you're not going to have very many options unless you draft one, because they don't hit the free agent market. Like, you don't have many opportunities to get a guy as good as Brandon Aiyuk, though, by the way, they might at the end of this year, because T. Higgins might be a free agent and that might be another option here. But I feel like, yes, they're far away from competing potentially. The defense could be really good. And this is part of what you want to build anyway. We're talking about a guy who's, I mean, what is he, 25, 26 years old? It's not like by the time if Drake May is good, he's going to be, 40. Like, we're not talking about Aaron Rodgers here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And look, it does give a young quarterback so much more confidence to know that there is someone out there that has been battle tested. This guy's been to Super Bowls. He's been in big games. He knows how to win them. He knows what it takes. And he's able to win his battles from anywhere in the field. That is the type of confidence that a receiver can give to a quarterback like Drake May, because as much as I like what I see in training camp, and I really loved watching Jalen Polk and Javon Baker kind of showcase and strut their stuff a little bit and show what their potential is, they're rookies as well, and they're going to make rookie mistakes. You can't expect them not to. It's just part of the growing pains of being a receiver in the NFL. Brandon Aiyuk already has those growing pains behind him. He's bona fide. So now it gives young quarterbacks an opportunity to build a relationship. And for someone like Jacoby Brissett, who, if he does start the season, and I believe he will, it gives him an opportunity to look a lot better too, with someone that can arguably catch just about anything thrown his way. It's a win-win for the New England Patriots. It's just a matter of committing to it. And it's also a matter of convincing Brandon that New England is the right place for him. That may be the tougher of the battles.
Yeah, and it does seem like that is part of the calculations here about where Brandon Aiyuk is willing to sign one of these deals, finding that Goldilocks zone, right, of who is willing to match what the 49ers want and give Brandon Aiyuk what he wants in terms of money, and then also be a place that Brandon Aiyuk wants to go. The question then quickly here, Mike, is what is it worth to New England? Because if they are, I mean, they have a 3.5, 4.5 over under right now with our friends at FanDuel. If they give up a first round pick, like we might be talking about the 6th pick, the 8th pick, that is premium draft capital. They did not want to give up the 3rd pick as part of this deal in April. So what's fair value from the Patriots standpoint?
Yeah, I think right now, I think the Pats are trying to do everything they can to avoid that first pick, especially with their woes right now at the tackle position. They would love to earmark that for a bona fide tackle, but ultimately they're going to have to make the decision about whether or not adding Aiyuk at the receiver position is worth that capital. Money is not a problem for the Patriots. $42.6 million in available cap space, the potential of in excess of $100 million next year. They'll get the job done. They can definitely give him the money he wants. It's whether or not they're going to be able to use that draft capital wisely. It really is going to be the biggest roadblock for the Patriots right now. They've got needs, and a lot of needs on this team, not just receiver. They've got some decisions to make in the long term. In my opinion, I believe that they feel it's worth it, and I think they're going to go the gamut if they need to. But the question is whether or not it's the right decision. Only time's going to tell.
Shortly after we recorded this interview last night, Adam Schefter reported that the New England Patriots are out of the Brandon Aiyuk sweepstakes, in part because Brandon Aiyuk, despite a deal being in place that the 49ers would have agreed to and a lucrative contract offer coming from New England, Brandon Aiyuk did not want to go to New England. That doesn't mean he won't. That doesn't mean this is over, because he still wants to be traded and he has still not been traded. So we will see where this saga goes from here. Stay up to date on the New England Patriots all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Patriots on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the best thing for both Brandon Aiyuk and for the 49ers is for there to be no trade. The 49ers are trading Brandon Aiyuk to the Steelers. Oh, wait, they're trading him to the Browns. Oh, wait, come on already. Locked On NFL host James Rapien and Chris Carter discuss why the best move for the Niners and for Aiyuk is for nothing to happen.
The San Francisco 49ers are the best fit for Brandon Aiyuk. I believe that.
Yeah.
And the 49ers' best chance of winning this year, unless they can get a really nice pick and Amari Cooper, is the same. It's with Brandon Aiyuk, because they would still have to pay Amari Cooper. He's older. And so there's more risk involved. You know what you're getting with Brandon Aiyuk. You know he fits in the offense. You know how he fits. It just, to me, I don't know why they need to break up. It's like that couple that makes sense and it works, and every piece of it, at least on paper, works. And yet there's been rumors for so long now that it does feel like a breakup is almost inevitable.
You know, we keep hearing it. We keep hearing it. And I get there's, you know, there's concerns and everything. But, you know, I think that there's also the look at, like, you know, the Niners, they have a lot of paychecks that are coming down the road. You know, guys that they'll need to extend, guys that they'll need to re-sign. And that could be tough. Plus, in 2025, they're kind of up against it with the cap, with the numbers that they have to be. So, like, I think that's part of the issue, is that the Niners, they kind of want to give themselves more flexibility moving forward. And you know, I think that's another part of you know, what they're going through, is trying to figure out how they keep this crew together as long as they can to keep an actual Super Bowl chance in hand, because, you know, they got the defense, they got the O-line, they got the playmakers, they got Brock Purdy. But again, Brock Purdy's on a rookie deal. Like, how much longer is that going to work? You know, where if you want to make him, a paid member of your offense. So I think that's kind of behind it right now, is that they have, you know, they have these guys that they're really excited about, and they'd love to keep Brandon Aiyuk. But if Brandon Aiyuk knows, hey, I can get top tier wide receiver money, that's probably not money that the Niners can afford to spend.
Here's the thing. I don't buy this. If the best thing for Brandon Aiyuk were to stay in San Francisco and get paid less money than he is worth, then he would have done that already. It sounds like they are not insignificantly far apart on the money, and that the Patriots, for example, would have paid Brandon Aiyuk $30+ million. They would have given him a bona fide star wide receiver contract, not just wide receiver, but wide receiver one. Come be our guy who gets 150 targets in our offense. You know who would really like that? Brandon Aiyuk. Not just the $30+ million, but also the 150 targets. He's not getting that with any sort of assuredness in San Francisco. It is an egalitarian offense. Christian McCaffrey's going to get his. George Kittle's going to get his. Deebo Samuel's going to get his. On third down, they want to look at Juwan Jennings. It is now that they used a first-round pick on Ricky Pearsall. So, no, it doesn't seem like the best thing for Brandon Aiyuk is to stay in that offense. Now, if he wants to win Super Bowls, yeah, stay on the most loaded roster in the league. A fact that is only true so long as Brandon Aiyuk is on that team. I think you can start making cases for other teams once you take Aiyuk off that roster, especially given some of the injuries, some of the atrophy in that roster over the last couple of years. Brandon Aiyuk can go to Pittsburgh and reasonably believe that they can be a playoff team, and he can get a bunch of targets. He can reasonably believe that if he went to Washington, let's say, with his old college quarterback, Jaden Daniels, that he could be a 100-catch receiver for them for the next 5-8 years. and get the $30 million that he's seeking. So why is the best thing for him to stay and take less money and get fewer targets than he deserves? I'm out on that. And I'm also out on this story. I just want it to be over. Please find a resolution right now. And finally, I'm going to read you this story. And I need you to believe when I tell you it's not a joke. I had to double and triple check that this was not a joke. I had to go to multiple reputable journalistic operations to assure our producers and myself this was not a joke. So let's start again. And finally, Pitbull Stadium. No, I didn't just have a stroke. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around all of this. Florida International's new stadium is going to be called Pitbull Stadium. International recording artist Pitbull has purchased the naming rights to FIU's football stadium for $1.2 million per year for the next 5 years. As part of the deal, according to FIU board documents, Pitbull will create an anthem for FIU, post about the school on social media 12 times a year, and Pitbull's vodka company will be the preferred beverage distributed around the stadium. September 7th, FIU will host Central Michigan in the first game at Pitbull Stadium. Dale, let's go. I swear it's true. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Pitbull. No, that's not real. On YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. It'd be called Mr. Worldwide, let's be honest. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will Brandon Aiyuk finally, mercifully be headed somewhere? So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.